All right. This is yours truly. This is night 2 of TJRS. Apologize for 14 minutes wait to do a nap after getting my haircut. And over a little bit unexpected myself. So, welcome all to those be watching on Twitter and just make sure I had a screen share in place. So, just going. As I said, I just woke up. So, a little out of place. It's not this evening. Forgive my more than quiet nature. I just came from getting a haircut. I just was tired. So, at least let me get a few out. Let me get an hour's sleep or something before I have to go on the air tonight. And I did, and look what happened. Phone watch and her phone clock that said 7 o'clock. Supposed to go on here. Hey, strange kind of static. Voice sounds something like hey, political Payne. Hey, Joe. Yeah, I apologize. My headphones are acting, so I've tried everything good to fix it, but my voice said something like. Yeah, like I said, I woke up with a nap, so my voice will hopefully get a little louder as the show goes on. But, hey, Joe, good to see you. Hope your own show's going well. Anyone who watches this, please go check out Political Payne on Friday nights. And let me get the time wrong. 11 p.m. Central, or not Central, Eastern. Go check out Political Payne. It's a great show. Joe is an independent journalist. He's real good. I know I should be saying more good things about him, but again, I just woke up from a nap, so I'm still a little tired, and I'm gonna try to get to it. I got my water, Kool-Aid water, and also internet's kind of cutting out, so that's probably Or actually, it could be my fans. So, speak of young man, what's your hot take on Biden's exit? I'm going to get to that. That is a very good that's a very good point. I talked about it last night with about the exit from Afghanistan. So good thing he asked because I actually brought up and Biden's exit from Afghanistan. But to start off, I was actually going to start off with Jacobin piece from Ed Asner, but I think he might have a great point. So, let's see. So, it's all the same old thing. But you know what? Let's do CBS. No, just do CBS. What the heck? What the heck? Kabul. Kabul. It's pronounced Kabul. Kabul. No audio. Huh. Hold on. No audio. Okay, let me try screen share. Because I did this last night. I screen shared and I forgot to share with audience. So let me do this again. Close out Facebook. Okay. You can hear the video. I know. I'm gonna screen share again. And then do it with audio. It's a little nervous. Give me a break. Alright. I'm learning here. Alright. Share the audio. Now let's try again. Let me try again. Okay. Now, go back to YouTube, go back to the Biden address, which I'm not going to play the whole darn thing because it's too long, but hopefully there's just a smaller, just play bits and pieces and I'll talk over it. Anyway, let's go to the Twitter's PBS. I'll try the first one. Okay. Can you hear it now? Oh, you can't see it.
History, with more than 120,000 people evacuated to safety.
Please tell me you can hear it now.
That number is more than double what most experts thought were possible. No nation has ever done anything like it in all of history. Only the United States had the capacity and the will and the ability to do it, and we did it today. The extraordinary success of this mission
hear the video now.
Was due to the incredible skill, bravery, and selfless courage of the United States military and our diplomats and intelligence professionals. For weeks, they risked their lives to get American citizens, Afghans who helped us, citizens of our allies and partners and others on board planes and out of the country. And they did it facing a crush of enormous crowds seeking to leave the country. And they did it knowing ISIS-K terrorists sworn
I forgot to share the audio. So
were lurking in the midst of those crowds. And still, the women and men of the United States military, our diplomatic corps, and intelligence professionals did their job and did it well, risking their lives.
This is my first time actually seeing this.
But to serve others.
This speech.
Not in a mission of war, but in a mission of mercy. 20 service members were wounded in the service of this mission. 13 heroes gave their lives. I was just at Dover Air Force Base for the dignified transfer. We owe them and their families a debt of gratitude we can never repay, but we should never, ever, ever forget. In April, I made a decision to end this war. As part of that decision, we set the date of August 31st for American troops to withdraw. The assumption was that more than 300,000 Afghan national security forces that we had trained for the past 2 decades and
I'm going to pause it real quick, just for 1 more minute. So it's 26 minutes long. I do not want to play the whole darn thing because I don't want to spend too much time, hearing him speak. I'll try to find maybe the best points of the speech because these presidential speeches go on long and long and long. But anyway, I'll talk about it on myself.
Would be a strong adversary in their civil wars with the Taliban. That assumption.
So you can hear the video. Can you hear me?
Hold on for a period of time beyond military.
I might still have some static in my headphones, but there's nothing really.
I still instructed our national security team to prepare for every eventuality.
As long as you can hear my voice.
And that's what we did. So we were ready when the Afghan security forces, after 2 decades of fighting for their country and losing thousands of their own, did not hold on as long as anyone expected. We were ready when they, and the people of Afghanistan, watched their own government collapse and their president flee amid the corruption and malfeasance, handing over the country to their enemy, the Taliban, and significantly increasing the risk to U.S. personnel and our allies. As a result, to safely extract American citizens before August 31st, as well as embassy personnel, allies and partners, and those Afghans who had worked with us and fought alongside of us for 20 years, I had authorized 6,000 troops, American troops, to Kabul.
Kabul.
As General McKenzie said, this is the
Kabul,
way the mission was designed.
And everyone else out there, I'm sorry to be all
under severe stress and attack.
These political forces.
And that's what it did.
Kabul.
Since March, we reached out 19 times to Americans in Afghanistan with multiple warnings and offers to help them leave Afghanistan, all the way back as far as March. After we started the evacuation 17 days ago, we did initial outreach and analysis and identified around 5,000 Americans who had decided earlier to stay in Afghanistan, but now wanted to leave. Our Operation Allied Rescue ended up getting more than 5,500 Americans out. We got out thousands of citizens and diplomats from those countries that went into Afghanistan with us to get bin Laden. We got out locally employed staff of the United States Embassy and their families, totaling roughly 2,500 people. We got thousands of Afghan translators and interpreters and others who supported the United States out as well. Now we believe that about 100 to 200 Americans remain in Afghanistan with some intention to leave. Most of those who remain are dual citizens, long-time residents who had earlier decided to stay because of their family roots in Afghanistan. The bottom line, 90% of Americans in Afghanistan who wanted to leave were able to leave. And for those remaining Americans, there is no deadline. We remain committed to get them out if they want to come out. Secretary of State Blinken is leading the continued diplomatic efforts to ensure safe passage for any American, Afghan partner, or foreign national who wants to leave Afghanistan. In fact, just yesterday, the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution that sent a clear message about what the international community expects the Taliban to deliver on moving forward, notably freedom of travel, freedom to leave. And together, we are joined by over 100 countries that are determined to make sure the Taliban upholds those commitments. It will include ongoing efforts in Afghanistan to reopen the airport, as well as overland routes, allowing for departure to those who want to leave and deliver humanitarian assistance to the people of Afghanistan. The Taliban has made public commitments, broadcast on television and radio across Afghanistan, on safe passage for anyone wanting to leave, including those who worked alongside Americans. We don't take them by their word alone, but by their actions. And we have leverage to make sure those commitments are met. Let me be clear. Leaving August the 31st is not an arbitrary deadline. It was designed to save American lives. My predecessor, the former president, signed an agreement with the Taliban to remove U.S. troops by May the 1st, just months after I was inaugurated. It included no requirement that the Taliban work out a cooperative governing arrangement with the Afghan government. But it did authorize the release of 5,000 prisoners last year, including some of the Taliban's top war commanders, among those who just took control of Afghanistan. By the time I came to office, the Taliban was in its strongest military position since 2001, controlling or contesting nearly half of the country. The previous administration's agreement said that if we stuck to the May 1st deadline that they had signed on to leave by, the Taliban would attack any American forces. But if we stayed, all bets were off. So we were left with a simple decision. Either follow through on the commitment made by the last administration and leave Afghanistan, or say we weren't leaving and commit another tens of thousands more troops going back to war. That was the choice, the real choice, between leaving or escalating. I was not going to extend this forever war, and I was not extending a forever exit. The decision to end the military airlift operations at Kabul airport was based on the unanimous recommendation of my civilian and military advisors, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and all the service chiefs, and the commanders in the field. Their recommendation was that the safest way to secure the passage of the remaining Americans and others out of the country was not to continue with 6,000 troops on the ground in harm's way in Kabul, but rather to get them out through non-military means. In the 17 days that we operated in Kabul, after the Taliban seized power, we engaged in an around-the-clock effort to provide every American the opportunity to leave. Our State Department was working 24/7, contacting and talking, and in some cases walking Americans into the airport. Again, more than 5,500 Americans were airlifted out. And for those who remain, we will make arrangements to get them out if they so choose. As for the Afghans, we and our partners have airlifted 100,000 of them. No country in history has done more to airlift out the residents of another country than we have done. We will continue to work to help more people leave the country who are at risk. We're far from done. For now, I urge all Americans to join me in grateful prayer for our troops and diplomats and intelligence officers who carried out this mission of mercy in Kabul at a tremendous risk with such unparalleled results. An airlift that evacuated tens of thousands.
Someone gives me grief. I'm like, oh,
Through a network
Kabul.
of volunteers and veterans who helped identify those needing evacuation,
It's still funny.
guide them to the airport, and provided them for their support along the way. We're going to continue to need their help. We need your help, and I'm looking forward to meeting with you. And to everyone who is now offering or who will offer to welcome Afghan allies to their homes around the world, including in America, we thank you. I take responsibility for the decision. Now some say we should have started mass evacuation sooner. And couldn't this have been done in a more orderly manner? I respectfully disagree. Imagine we've begun evacuations in June or July, bringing in thousands of American troops and evacuating more than 120,000 people in the middle of a civil war. There still would have been a rush to the airport, a breakdown in confidence and control of the government, and it still would have been a very difficult and dangerous mission. The bottom line is there is no evacuation from the end of the war that you can run without the kinds of complexities, challenges, and threats we faced. None. There are those who would say we should have stayed indefinitely for years on end. They ask, why don't we just keep doing what we were doing? Why do we have to change anything? The fact is, everything had changed. My predecessor had made a deal with the Taliban. When I came into office, we faced a deadline, May 1. The Taliban onslaught was coming. We faced one of two choices: follow the agreement of the previous administration and extend to have more time for people to get out, or send in thousands of more troops and escalate the war. To those asking for a third decade of war in Afghanistan, I ask, what is the vital national interest? In my view, we only have one: to make sure Afghanistan can never be used again to launch an attack on our homeland. Remember why we went to Afghanistan in the first place? Because we were attacked by Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda on September 11th, 2001. And they were based in Afghanistan. We delivered justice to bin Laden on May 2nd, 2011, over a decade ago. Al-Qaeda was decimated. I respectfully suggest you ask yourself this question. If we'd been attacked on September 11, 2001, from Yemen instead of Afghanistan, would we have ever gone to war in Afghanistan? Even though the Taliban controlled Afghanistan in the year 2001? I believe the honest answer is no. That's because we had no vital interest in Afghanistan other than to prevent an attack on America's homeland and our friends. And that's true today. We succeeded in what we set out to do in Afghanistan over a decade ago. Then we stayed for another decade. It was time to end this war. This is a new world. The terror threat has metastasized across the world, well beyond Afghanistan. We face threats from al-Shabaab in Somalia, al-Qaeda affiliates in Syria and the Arabian Peninsula, and ISIS attempting to create a caliphate in Syria and Iraq and establishing affiliates across Africa and Asia. The fundamental obligation of a president, in my opinion, is to defend and protect America, not against threats of 2001, but against the threats of 2021 and tomorrow. That is the guiding principle behind my decisions about Afghanistan. I simply do not believe that the safety and security of America is enhanced by continuing to deploy thousands of American troops and spending billions of dollars a year in Afghanistan. But I also know that the threat from terrorism continues in its pernicious and evil nature. But it's changed, expanded to other countries. Our strategy has to change too. We will maintain the fight against terrorism in Afghanistan and other countries. We just don't need to fight a ground war to do it. We have what's called over-the-horizon capabilities, which means we can strike terrorists and targets without American boots on the ground, or very few if needed. We've shown that capacity just in the last week. We struck ISIS-K remotely, days after they murdered 13 of our service members and dozens of innocent Afghans. And to ISIS-K, we are not done with you yet. As Commander-in-Chief, I firmly believe the best path to guard our safety and our security lies in a tough, unforgiving, targeted, precise strategy that goes after terror where it is today, not where it was 2 decades ago. That's what's in our national interest. And here's a critical thing to understand. The world is changing. We're engaged in a serious competition with China. We're dealing with the challenges on multiple fronts with Russia. We're confronted with cyber attacks and nuclear proliferation. We have to shore up America's competitiveness to meet these new challenges in the competition for the 21st century. We can do both. Fight terrorism and take on new threats that are here now and will continue to be here in the future. And there's nothing China or Russia would rather have, would want more in this competition in the United States to be bogged down another decade in Afghanistan. As we turn the page on the foreign policy that has guided our nation the last 2 decades, we've got to learn from our mistakes. To me, there are 2 that are paramount. First, we must set missions with clear, achievable goals, not ones we'll never reach. And second, we must stay clearly focused on the fundamental national security interest of the United States of America. This decision about Afghanistan is not just about Afghanistan. It's about ending an era of major military operations to remake other countries. We saw a mission of counterterrorism in Afghanistan, getting the terrorists and stopping attacks, morph into a counterinsurgency, nation building, trying to create a democratic, cohesive, and united Afghanistan, something that has never been done over many centuries of Afghan's history. Moving on from that mindset, and those kind of large-scale troop deployments will make us stronger and more effective and safer at home. And for anyone who gets the wrong idea, let me say clearly, to those who wish America harm, to those who engage in terrorism against us or our allies, know this: the United States will never rest. We will not forgive, we will not forget. We'll hunt you down to the ends of the earth, and you will pay the ultimate price. And let me be clear, we'll continue to support the Afghan people through diplomacy, international influence, and humanitarian aid. We'll continue to push for regional diplomacy and engagement to prevent violence and instability. We'll continue to speak out for the basic rights of the Afghan people, especially women and girls, as we speak out for women and girls all around the globe. And I've been clear that human rights will be the center of our foreign policy. But the way to do that is not through endless military deployments, but through diplomacy, economic tools, and rallying the rest of the world for support. My fellow Americans, the war in Afghanistan is now over. I'm the fourth president who has faced the issue of whether and when to end this war. When I was running for president, I made a commitment to the American people that I would end this war. Today, I've honored that commitment. It was time to be honest with the American people again. We no longer had a clear purpose in an open-ended mission in Afghanistan. After 20 years of war in Afghanistan, I refused to send another generation of America's sons and daughters to fight a war that should have ended long ago. After more than $2 trillion spent in Afghanistan, a cost that researchers at Brown University estimated would be over $300 million a day for 20 years in Afghanistan, for 2 decades. Yes, the American people should hear this. $300 million a day for 2 decades. You take the number of 1 trillion, as many say, that's still $150 million a day for 2 decades. What have we lost as a consequence in terms of opportunities? I refuse to continue a war that was no longer in the service of the vital national interests of our people. And most of all, after 800,000 Americans serving in Afghanistan, I've traveled that whole country, brave and honorable service. After 20,744 American servicemen and women injured, and the loss of 2,461 American personnel, including 13 lives lost just this week, I refuse to open another decade of warfare in Afghanistan. We've been a nation too long at war. If you're 20 years old today, you've never known an America at peace. So when I hear that we could have, should have continued the so-called low-grade effort in Afghanistan at low risk to our service members, at low cost, I don't think enough people understand how much we've asked of the 1% of this country who put that uniform on, willing to put their lives on the line in defense of our nation. Maybe it's because my deceased son, Bo, served in Iraq for a full year. Before that, well, maybe it's because of what I've seen over the years as senator, vice president, and president traveling these countries. A lot of our veterans and their families have gone through hell. Deployment after deployment, months and years away from their families. Missed birthdays, anniversaries, empty chairs at holidays, financial struggles, divorces, loss of limbs, traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress. We see it in the struggles many have when they come home. We see it in the strain on their families and caregivers. We see it in the strain on their families when they're not there. We see it in the grief borne by their survivors. The cost of war they will carry with them their whole lives. Most tragically, we see in the shocking and stunning statistic that should give pause to anyone who thinks war can ever be low grade, low risk, or low cost. 18 veterans, on average, who die by suicide every single day in America. Not in a far-off place, but right here.
You know what I've noticed? about not just Biden, but
low grade or low risk
other
or low
presidents.
cost about
They
anything.
always do the hand thing, like
It's
when they're
time
trying to make a
end the war in
point.
Afghanistan.
They put their right
As we
hand
close
and they
20
just
years of
do
war,
this
strife,
to
and
make a
pain and
point.
sacrifice, it's time to look
It's
to the
just a thing I
future,
have.
not the past. To a future that's safer, to a future that's more secure, to a future that honors those who served and all those who gave what President Lincoln called their last full measure of devotion. I give you my word with all of my heart. I believe this is the right decision, the wise decision, and the best decision for America. Thank you. Thank you, and may God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
And of course, the president, the press, with their questions. All right. Oh boy, that was a lot to take in. I will admit, that was a lot to take in, man. That was like, anyway, I wanted to kind of throw this up here. Joe and I, he was sending me comments during the speech, and he says, Biden knows that this would both be a popular decision in the long run, but that would, in execution, cost the price of human lives and both in human lives and politically. Someone who has uh, lived through this war remembers sitting in a classroom watching the Twin Towers go down, like most people my age. Illuminati, yeah. Oh, yeah, Illuminati. Yeah, not much of a conspiracy theory person, but hey, I see your point there, Joe. Joe Payne, not Biden, not the president, but as somebody, as I said, somebody who was a kid, was like that tall, maybe shorter, when the World Trade Center towers came down. I remember sitting in a classroom when the uh, the conversation was. I was um, I was 9 when. I guess I could tell you guys. Well, it's just general, but hopefully more people will tune in and watch on YouTube. But I'll tell the story where I was on 9/11 because I've been replaying it in my head for so long that I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I thought it was beautiful Twitch emoji. No, Joe. No. I would never think you're a conspiracy theorist person. Neither am I. But and I know you were just trying to make a funny point, which again, it was hilarious. Um, um, where was I in 9/11? I was in third grade. I was living in Brookfield, Missouri, which is about an hour or so outside of Kansas City. It was our school picture day, and we were. Sorry, that conspiracy theorist emoji got me still laughing. Um, I was, or not I, we, as in the class, we were getting ready to take our pictures, or go get our pictures taken, and all of a sudden the phone rings. And the teacher at the time, Mr. Thomason, he answers the phone, and he was only on the phone for about a few seconds when he said something bad happened, and he ran out of the room. When I say ran, like he ran like fast, and we're all like murmuring and talking with ourselves, like, what happened, what happened, what happened? And so we get our pictures taken. We come back to our classroom a few minutes later, and I still hear static in my headphones, by the way, but I'm just gonna have to deal with it. So, Joe, if you're still watching, that's the static that you're hearing. I, for some reason, can't do anything about it. I've tried everything, but anyway. The principal came back in the classroom. He explained what happened. His mom was, the teacher's mom, my third grade teacher's mother, was living in New York, and he needed to make sure she was okay. And found out later that she was. She was nowhere near the World Trade Center site. She was safe. She was fine. But he stayed. He couldn't get a flight out. He came back the next day, and I can remember like watching the news a lot more in school, at home, in the days and months afterwards. And when the decision to invade Afghanistan um, happened under the 43rd president, which, two presidents, was it? No. Counting my fingers. Like 3 presidents ago? 4 presidents ago? It seemed, again, this seems so long, 20 years. When the decision to invade Afghanistan was made public by the news, and again, this is of course, in 2001, in a pre-social media world. We still had the internet, but there was not the form of communication that we have now. And again, we were taught in a way growing up in a conservative kind of neighborhood, the reasons for going to war were good. Background music just died out, but I'll live through it. The reasons for going to war with Afghanistan were because, Osama bin Laden attacked us. This terrorist that was harbored by this group called Al Qaeda. He knocked our buildings down on American soil, and he deserved to go to war for revenge. And again, in a conservative town, you're taught to believe that, hey, that's reasonable. That's supposed to happen. And foolishly, and I would describe myself sort of apolitical in 2001. Again, I'm also 9 years old. I just, without foolishly thinking, went along with it and said, hey, yeah, we should go to the war with the people and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until I actually grew up that I realized later, as I got older, that I realized, hey, this war was the wrong thing to do. And again, I mentioned it last night, kind of money that has gone into this war could have gone into more simpler things, which is like food, clothing, education. There should be a special fourth thing that I can't think off the top of my head, but if you know what that is, say it now. But that went into this war that has cost human lives, both American and Afghan. And of course, 2 years later, when we invaded Iraq, it's like that was the big total thing. And now we know from history that, hey, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. It was the Bush administration's, decision from going into, from the time they went into office, that, hey, let's avenge my father and avenge the fact that he did not go all the way into Kuwait and cost him the 92 election to Hillary Clinton. But yeah, that's kind of my upbringing of the Afghanistan war. I also make no disdain for the. I was older. Oh. Yeah, that definitely. I mean, again, when you grow up conservative, if you're like me, you grow up in a conservative town. Again, you tend to believe like everyone else, and until I'm stuttering. when you get older and you leave that town and you get more perspective, your that viewpoint goes away, and you start thinking for yourself, like I did, and probably by 2008, I started getting more political than I should have. Mostly because it's due to the fact that I have an uncle that is a bleeding heart liberal, if anyone can have the definition. I mean, he is a registered Democrat, and he and I have differed over the last 4 years of how the left should be. I have gone into the democratic socialist way of thinking since Bernie Sanders' first presidential campaign of what I would say help with putting people over politics. He is of the early 90s moderate liberal Clinton era. And those people still hold power today, and they are more and more conservative than they probably were in the early 90s, or early 90s, mid 90s. Well, early 90s, yeah, but even Clinton today would be more conservative. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, the bleeding heart liberals that are in power today, they're more conservative than Bernie. They're hella more conservative now because, I mean, from history, they all voted for these wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Joe Biden, now that you mention it, I guess I can pull this back up. Let's see Biden's history on Afghanistan. Biden, Afghanistan vote. I'll just put it that way. Because everybody in the hell we're trying to find the best news site. I'll just do the Times. I'll do the mainstream media. I'll do the MSM. Bernie first got elected mayor in 1981, I believe, is when he got elected mayor. Biden's vote for the war. In October 2002, he was one of 77 senators who gave President George W. Bush the authority to use force in Iraq. He still is trying to explain that choice. Of course, and there he is, right there. There is Papa Joe with all these, I don't know who that is, but that's Denny Hastert, that's Roy Blunt, that is Joe Lieberman, Democratic vice presidential nominee in 2000, who crossed the line and said McCain, this guy, would be better in 2008 than his own party's nominee. There's Speaker of the House, Denny Hastert. We know what he did with the scandal. I won't say much about it, but you know what it is. You can just Google it up, and you can find it. So, anyway, proposed compromise. In the fall of 2002, that Bush administration was pushing to sweeping authority to act against Saddam Hussein, claiming he had weapons of mass destruction, which we all know was bull hockey. We all know that from history now, don't we? It was complete and utter bull hockey. I know that it's been 16 years since that war, and we all know the tale that I know it don't need to be told again, and I can say it 3,001 more times. That first of all, let me try to make this bigger because I can barely be shown. There we go. All right, trying to make the picture better. Claiming he had weapons of mass destruction, which we know was a bunch of bull hockey. Like I said, a bunch of bull hockey. We know it was false. We know it was a lie to get in to avenge his family name, the Bush family name, and all the Democrats now are saying that George W. as former president is the best thing ever because Trump came in and in his 4 years as president, how do you say it, with shadow, or not with shadow, exceeded Bush's, George W.'s failed, terrible, miserable, warmongering 8 years. Some Democrats question the threat posed by Iraq, first by President George W. Bush. Mr. Biden, Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman, had been scrambling a draft bipartisan resolution that would grant Mr. Bush the authority to use military force against Iraq, but more restrictive than the war authorization that the president had sought. After seeing his long career, Mr. Biden sought bipartisan middle ground with the Republicans. Yeah, every Democrat, when it came to these two wars in the mid-2000s, were soughting bipartisan ground with the Republicans in power. That includes the late Senator Ted Kennedy. And at times, Mr. Kennedy bit the hand that fed him, so to speak. I hate to say that, but it's true, folks. This time, between those opposed to financial war and the White House's war by power, some anti-war members of the committee resisted the effort and worried that it would still pave the way for conflict. He disagreed very strenuously, said former Senator Barbara Boxer, Democrat of California, which was actually, yeah, she was one, Senator Boxer was one of the few senators in the Democratic Party to oppose the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq. I didn't know that until 2016. And I thought to myself, maybe she's progressive. How wrong I was. Yeah. Biden's plan ultimately did not succeed, and he chose to focus on Mr. Biden's reassertions for a diplomacy-first approach. And at each pivotal moment, he said, he has chosen a course of moderation and delusion. I believe he will continue to do so, at least as my favorite moment. Yeah, basically, he's supporting this war. And, yeah. October 11, 2001, month after, or 2000, hold on, let me scroll up. 2002, I was off by a year. A few months after 9/11, like a year after the World Trade Center attack, Mr. Biden authorized to use military force. And so did Hillary Clinton, just to name a few people. You know she did. I know she did. And all the bleeding heart liberals were like, well, she made a mistake and all that. But I'm like, hey, I say different. You know, I say totally different. Had she been president, we would have been in there, and we still would have been in this war. We still probably would have been in Iraq if Hillary Clinton was president. But I don't want to go on a Hillary Clinton tangent right now. I mean, I can if I want to, but I will not. Okay, well, I don't want to do that. I do this. Anyway, 2 decades later, Mr. Biden in 2005 said his war was a mistake. Yeah, just like Clinton before. Running the president on foreign policy experience, emphasizing his commander-in-chief credentials as a moment of heightened tensions between the United States and Iran. So, just because you have good foreign policy doesn't mean at the time you say, let me rephrase that, you tell American voters in 2005, but 2 years later in 2007, 2008, say you have good foreign policy experience, doesn't mean that you would have got us out of the war by day one. Had your president run for president at the time succeeded, which strenuously was not going to. But yet the war in Iraq, he is part of the extensive record he cites, and he has struggled accurately account for the campaign trail, repeatedly struggling to close the war, suggesting that he was the war, and Mr. Bush's conduct from the beginning, claims that detailed fact checks had deemed wrong or misleading. My whole thing, well, if you thought that at the time, Joe, why'd you support the war in the first place? I mean, but anyway, it's exposed him, criticism from rivals with Warren and Buttigieg, military veteran, and of course, Bernard, who was the only senator to vote against the wars and whose campaign has been criticism of Mr. Biden. How old was this? Is this recent? Oh, so it's 2020. So we were still in the presidential race at the time. So looking at that, I'm like, oh, this is about a year old. So, oh well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Bernie's campaign in 2020 was very reasonably critical of Mr. Biden, and with someone whose policies, if anyone does not mind me getting into a very positive Bernie tangent, like I should be doing, someone whose policies have been consistent with everything that he's stood on, I'll say that way, voted on. Man, Bernie was a missed opportunity for us. For someone whose candidacy was built on trust and honesty and wit and persistence and again, consistency with everything that he ran on and voted on and stood on and whatever else you could think of. Man, Bernie was a totally missed opportunity for us. And I think we will never see the likes of him ever again. Maybe if AOC, I'm kind of putting my cards on the table here. If it so happens that our current president decides he doesn't want to run or can't run in 2024, and AOC decides to challenge him from the left, by God, I tell you, and I don't really believe in God, but I'll tell you that I will get out and vote for her any way, shape, or form. But I know it's too early to be thinking about that. But I'm just going to lay my cards and my bias on the table, and if Miss AOC decides to run for president and make that step, I am right in her corner. Okay, I'm gonna finish this off. Re-explore the home states. So, yeah, I guess I've seen enough. I've read enough of this, a lot of this. So actually, if I just scroll up here to what Joe was saying to me at the beginning, what's my hot take on Biden's exit from Afghanistan? My hot take on his exit from Afghanistan is this: just because we're pulling out doesn't mean we're leaving. I don't generally believe we're going to be out of there. I think there's still going to be some obviously hot issues facing Afghanistan in the coming weeks, days, weeks, months, maybe even years. And let's see if I can put some background music on, by the way. Background music's not working. So, looks like I'm down the background music. Because I just like using the background music so much, it helps me think. It helps me articulate what I'm trying to say. And it keeps me confident. But my hot take on Biden's exit strategy is that we're still, believe it or not, we're still going to have some presence there in the days, weeks, months to come. You know, we might be leaving, but we won't be leaving yet. Joe just said Biden is going to treat the entire Middle East as his drone playground. Hate this militaristic shit. Yeah, definitely, it's always a drone playground. It's always, since when has any president, Democrat or Republican, ever not used drone strikes for any reason? I mean, we are so overtly militaristic. We are, believe it or not, we are the world's global police people. We are never going to keep our boots off the ground. There's never going to be a time in history where anyone else's military boots, other than the United States, are going to be on the ground. You know, we're still going to have some rhyme or reason. You know, people just being in some president in the future generation have our military there, and it's just going to be like, well, we're doing this and doing that, but I'm like, no, man, I thought the war was supposed to be over. So I guess you can say I am a little skeptical of this so-called end of the Afghanistan war. You know, it might be over, but it's not over, if that makes sense. So, but the weirdest, I'm just reading comments. The weirdest shit about the whole thing is Biden saying, hey, I'm just doing what Trump is pretty much, yeah, LOL, bipartisanship, yeah, and compromising. I mean, the Democrats, as much as Republicans, they compromise on everything. Did you ever see, not to get too off topic here, but did you ever see Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 11/9? That whole scene where it's like the Democrats are acting like Republicans, yeah, that's the kind of thing that happens. But what were they going to talk about? You were right to the skeptical young. Yeah, I know. I'm totally skeptical. I mean, you know, I was brought into the world again in 2001 that this war was something to be fought, and as I got older and matured and developed it for myself, it's like, oh, shouldn't this war be over by now? I mean, by 2008, I will say this. Hopefully, to put a period on this conversation, and then move on to other topics, because there's like a whole bunch of other things. Because there was a great piece on Jacobin Jacobin Mag about the passing of Ed Asner that I wanted to get to, and you know, I talked to him a little bit about it last night on my last stream, but kind of delve into a little more. But anyway, a little bit more, put a period on this. You know, yeah, I was brought into the whole notion in 01 when I was 9 years old about we had to fight this war because it was reasonable and Osama bin Laden attacked us and all the rest of it, right? So as I got older, and by 2008, when Obama came in and promised to end the war in Afghanistan, I believed that and was like, yeah, you're gonna end this war and bring all the troops home and whatnot. And it just was like he didn't act on it, Obama. And not only that, like he ran, if you recall, the whole hope and change thing, the whole change we can believe in, yes we can, was the whole just shit about like, hey, I'm going to be different from George W. And he wasn't, and he continued the war in Afghanistan for another, at that point, like 10 years. And then we went and got bin Laden and killed him, and we went and killed OBL. And I was thinking at that moment when he said a year later that 2014 is when we're going to bring all the troops home, and Biden and what's his face? I don't want to say his name, but I'm going to have to. So I apologize. Paul Ryan. When they were like, yeah, we agree on a 2014 withdrawal, but we just have different ways of doing it. I'm thinking, I'm skeptical about that too. And at the tail end of Obama's presidency, when 2014 came and went, and he didn't act on it, I was even more skeptical. It's just like, when is this shit going to end? But yeah, so I'll put this up here one more time because I actually do like this. Thank you, Joe. for saying that. I'm truly rightly skeptical. So yeah, I'm truly doubtful also of how much over an end this war is, and I'm putting up fingers because, again, we're still going to have troops there, no matter what he says, what he does, no matter who, whether it's Biden or whoever, we're still going to have troops in Afghanistan and other foreign countries fighting a enemy that is pretty much vanished at this point, except yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna get off the Afghanistan talk, and I'm going to change subjects. But anyway, that's my take. That's my also my upbringing on living through the Iraq War. So anyway, Ed Asner. So I'm going to get silent for a moment. Please excuse the dead silence because background music ain't working. Darn you, Restream. Anyway, so this gentleman, this young man, I actually talked a little bit about him last night, but I want to kind of talk to him a little bit about it again because he was a true socialist. He was a great actor, Ed Asner. I also want to kind of open up to the one person in the comments, Joe, that's me talking to you about what your feelings are about this gentleman. Because I like him. I gotta say, I gotta go. Have a good night, John. Oh, okay. See you, Joe. I hope you have a good night and have a good sleep. And anyway, I will say this to people who watch this later on. Go watch Joe Payne on Political Payne on Friday nights on YouTube because he is a great journalist, a great independent journalist, and he talks a lot about different stuff in the news from a very left progressive point of view. But thanks, Joe, for sticking around and kind of helping me out here, keeping me company. But so Ed Asner, who is from here, from Kansas City, and he passed away last. Now I keep saying last week, but he passed away August 29th. So what's that? 3 days ago, 2.5 days ago. Let's see. My mind's on blank. Let's see. It was written by Ed Ramble, Jackman Mag. Legendary actor Ed Asner has died on August 28, 1991, and I am very fortunate to spend the last Saturday with him before he passed. Ed had a star on the fabled Hollywood Walk of Fame, won 5 Golden Globes, and had more primetime Emmy Awards than any other male actor in TV history. The co-star of the beloved Mary Tyler Moore Show, played the greatest role off-screen and off-stage, courageously challenging the Reagan regime's blood-drenched Central American policy. Throughout his life, he epitomized the actor/activist using his celebrity to support causes, candidates, and charity. And this is how I was lucky to meet and get to know Ed. Again, this is Ed Ramble. Just I want it out there. Let's see, Ed. Interviewing him many times over the years, but let me begin with what turned to be my final encounter with a man whose famous role was the gruff yet lovable newsman Luke Grant on Mary Tyler Moore's long-running sitcom, as well as the spin-off series. I'm actually not going to talk a lot about it, but I just kind of, he was a member of DSA. He was opposed to as Screen Actors Guild president. Um, his stand against President Ronald Reagan's uh, interference in Central America, and it supposedly his big leftist push caused his show to be canceled. And he was just one of those good people. We were proud to have Mr. Asner the way we did when we did. And I, for one, believe that we will never see the likes of him ever again. I mean, he was one of a kind, boy. I tell you. He was, he was Screen Actors Guild president, two-term. Screen Actors Guild, Democratic Socialist. In February '82, he went to Washington to present the funds for a ceremony with the ongoing crisis in El Salvador. Let's see if I can do my impression of Mr. Asner. It's too bad Joe left, because I'm sure he'd want to hear this. Because I was the star of a current TV show, they asked me to read the credo of the group, which I did, and it was a huge press turnout. Automatically, they began asking questions. Because I was already there with a microphone in my hand, I began to field the questions. Big mistake. That's my take on Mr. Asner, on an impression of the late great Ed Asner. After Asner called for a free and fair election in El Salvador, one journalist asked him if he would still support that if it turned out to be a communist government. If it's the communist government that the people of El Salvador choose, then let them have it. That's democracy. That's what it's called, that he said. The fallout was quick. Former SOG president and future NRI president Charlton Heston made all kinds of slurs and innuendos about my response. Bruce Hirschenshaw, is that how you pronounce it? Was a commentator on ABC at this time, and he spent 3 nights talking about what a danger of wait a minute. I didn't know that was Ed speaking. That was Mr. Asner speaking. Charlton Heston made all kinds of slurs and innuendos about my response. Bruce Hirschenshaw was a commentator on ABC at the time, and he spent 3 nights talking about what a danger I was to the country. Immediately, sponsors for Asner's show, Lee Grant, would pull their ads. Kimberly Clark, which had 2 factories in El Salvador, pulled out their ads. They were followed by Vidal Sassoon and Cadbury Candy. The uproar was tremendous. CBS sent its vice president out, a guy I knew and liked, Jim Rosenfield, just to show that the sponsors were standing in line for the show, and that it wasn't because of lack of sponsors, but the show being canceled. Canceling Lou Grant was an act of political reprisal and censorship, Asner asserted. Oh yeah, absolutely. In that earlier interview, Ed added that U.S. Central American policies back in the 1980s have created part of the current immigration crisis with people leaving El Salvador, Honduras, and other countries to come to the United States. Yeah, I'd say it was a blowback. Asner was very sensitive to the issue of censorship, and also participated in a sold-out commemoration of Hollywood Blacklist that took place at the Writers Guild of America's Beverly Hills Theater on October 7, 2017. The precise 17th anniversary of the first testimony before the House Un-American Activities Committee, or HUAC, by one of Hollywood 10 in 1947, John Howard Lawson. Ed reenacted the defiant appearance by Lawson before HUAC in a special video that I had the honor of directing. Lawson was the first president, and when I say I mean Ed Rampant, who wrote this article. The first president of West Nile Writers Guild of America, that became reputedly head of the Communist Party's branch in Tinseltown. The 4-hour-plus reenactment, which repeatedly aired by C-SPAN, and you can see it, included Asner's unique depiction of Lawson in his slim hair. He also said he had a great opportunity to work with communication. They co-organized the 60th anniversary and execution of the so-called atomic spies, Jerusalem and Rosenberg, on July 19, 2013. Asner spoke at a screening of Daniel, Samuel Levin's adaptation of E.L. Dr. Rose novel that fictionalized the Rosenberg case. Mike Farrell, death penalty, also spoke at the standing room anniversary. And he also played on Oliver Stone's JFK. He was a great minister. He played, obviously, in Pixar's Up, which most millennials remember watching him, the voice of Carl Fredricksen. He got 2 Academy Awards, Best Animated Picture, and of course, Ed's his his version portrayal of Santa Claus in Will Ferrell's The Call. He was generous, of course, donating money. He was very philanthropist. Well, I can't speak these big words. He co-founded the Ed Asner Family Center, which is a picture up here. Let's see if I can. No, I can't click on it. Yeah. He was a superstar. He died of medical causes. He was a spirit of artist / actress on and off screen and on stage. And he was one of the greats. And rest in power. Of course, he was truly one of the greats. I will also say that he was a fellow Kansas Cityan and a fellow Missourian. And also, it was actually very, very cool to see people on the left. If I don't mind me dropping any names, Ben Burgess, Mickey Collins, pay their respects to Mr. Asner, for which I am truly grateful. So, Ben, know me. If you're out there, if you see this, thanks, guys. That was great coming from you. And of course, I've been paying my respects to Mr. Asner for the last day. And yeah, so I'm going to try to get the background music back on, by the way. So I may just have to refresh if this doesn't work. So yeah, so I'm going to try to refresh. So you hang tight. Yeah. Well, it probably did. So. Shoot. The music's not working. I don't know why. The music is not working. I like when the background music is playing. Oh well. It gives me more confidence though. It's just one of these weird things where it's like and I play some music on like background music on YouTube and whatnot, but it's still just like I don't want to get like copyright strike for that. So okay, now it wants to play. Finally, we got some music going on here. But so my day was pretty good finally. Had a great day in math class. Had a great day in math class. There we go. Got the chili. I had a pretty good day in math class, by the way. It was funny because I was sitting in class today, and I thought that I was going to have trouble remembering any of the math problems. And, you know, math isn't really my strong subject. I can imagine that it's probably not the strong subject for a lot of other people. But I was sitting in class, and I just like everything kind of fell into place for me as far as that of like knowing everything. Because I guess I can say I finally got a math teacher that I can understand, because I've had to put off taking mathematics for the last like year or so until I found a teacher that I could understand. And believe me, it's not easy. And I'll admit, you know, math is not my strongest subject, which would lead me to this next question. If anybody ever comes on and chat on YouTube and Twitch, what's your, if you're in college or you haven't been in college, if you are in college or have been in college, or currently in college, what's your strongest subject, and what isn't your strongest subject? So with me, it's math. Always has been, always will be. But I was able to get my homework done, which was nice. Again, I normally don't get done on time because I always struggle. But I will also say that the teacher I have now made doing the homework more easier, so I don't have to fret about it as much as I do. So what else? I gotta kill time. It's only 8:30, and I'm actually fully awake now. I was barely awake when I started about like half an hour ago. I was just groggy. I wasn't talking. I was really quiet until Mr. Payne was like, "Speak up, young man. Tell about your feelings about Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan." And then I went into a speech, and watching that just made me wake up. What else? Let's see. I'm just gonna escape Google. If something comes up, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, there's this thing." I just thought of something funny. Oh, jeez. I just, part of me just thought of something funny, but I don't know. Should I talk about it? Should I stream it? Oh God, here I go. Oh, they have Oh Brother, Where Art Thou for free on YouTube. Ooh, I gotta watch that. You know, last night, as I did the show, and actually watched a playback this morning, I realized when I was screen sharing, I conveniently forgot the share audio button down below, which, you know what? I conveniently avoided I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So let's do a few Duncan on some IDW people, and maybe some Tulsi Gabbard stuff. Let's see. No one respects Dave Rubin. This is why Dave Rubin won't help me to show. This one's my favorite. I'm just going to show this one. I'm going to show this clip here. Let me screen share one more time, folks. So, like, before I play the clip, I will say this. So basically, like to kind of put a period on the whole Afghanistan thing, just to recap. You know, that's kind of that was my kind of upbringing with the way Afghanistan was. You know, and I am once a skeptic, always a skeptic. Like I'm no conspiracy theorist by any means, but again, I am very, 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 very skeptical of Afghanistan post end of the war. So that's my view. So anyway, I'm gonna get to this. And did I share the audio? I probably didn't. So let me stop screen sharing and then share again. And shoot, did I? Yeah, I forgot. It's just like the share audio button is just so tiny, like down below when you want to share your screen. So I wish it was like right up top of the screen instead of below, so I wouldn't have to like. I could just remember to click it. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Did you pull the clip of him, the one where he was on the interview in Britain and they played the clip of Anna?
I have that available if we want to go to that
Okay, yeah,
too.
let's get that too.
It's hilarious.
But there is a
Because he hears the truth in real time.
there's a YouTube guy. Is this
That's
Timba on
the power.
Toast? Is this the guy who does these?
Yep, Timba on Toast. TIMBAH and then .on.toast.
I would recommend people go and watch every one of these chapters, essentially,
They're
of Dave
excellent.
Rubin's Battle of Ideas. But this is a segment from Dave Rubin's Battle of Ideas, Part 3. And this involves Dave Rubin. Now, look, we played this clip, I think, last week before we left about Sam Harris. Sam Harris was talking about Tommy, what's that guy's name?
Robinson.
Tommy Robinson, who was, if I'm not mistaken, was like arrested in Britain for hate speech. He's, how would you describe him?
In my opinion, I would assess him, in my view, as a far right. I would say fascist would be my
Anti-Muslim,
opinion.
particularly.
Primarily an anti-Muslim activist and affiliated with UKIP and the English Defence League, which definitely has, and also a member of the British National Party. So, I mean, extreme far right.
And at the very least, we know the British perceive him to have been, guilty of something.
I believe incitement.
Incitement or something.
I think it was something to that effect.
So Dave, Sam Harris, is talking about, like, this guy seems perfectly reasonable to me. I only watched an hour-long video. I'm not from Britain. I only watched an hour-long video of him on Dave Rubin, but he seemed perfectly rational for an hour, as if like this is a huge accomplishment, as if there isn't an extraordinary amount of data and anecdata that shows that what extremists do is attempt to get into the mainstream, and they know they have to play to a more mainstream audience, and that's the way that they basically create their sales funnel. And Dave Rubin is the sales funnelist of the funnels when it comes to basically sending people down an alt-right
something?
rabbit hole.
I've been wanting, I will say this when Joe was in the conversation, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, Joe. If you watch this afterwards, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but there's a video on Political Payne's show. I can't put the show good enough. Good afternoon. Hey, sneaky dude. Well, it's good night for me. Good evening. It's 8:42. But good afternoon to you, whatever your time is. But there's a clip. I've been wanting to do what Joe did, which was call into the Majority Report. Now that I'm sort of back in school in person, I have to kind of put that off until some time. But I've actually, on my downtime, I've been watching the show religiously, and I always have that notion what to talk about when he allows call-ins. Because Joe called in the show about 2 months ago, like maybe in January, and it's really good. I actually watched it before I came on tonight, and he was so sweet to Joe. I mean, that's the kind of thing I like about Sam Cedar, is that he is a really cool guy. I mean, he will give, from what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've watched, is that he will give people their time. He'll be very he'll be very reasonable and nice and let people have their say. And it's very, what I say, brutally honest. I love his brutal honesty, and I've been following Sam since I believe it was Air America days when he was on Air America Radio. And when the day before I turned 29, I reached out to him and said I was turning almost 30, and sung my praises of him, sung my lionizing of him, and he said, "Happy birthday." He replied back the day before my 29th birthday and said, "Happy birthday," amongst other people, other progressive love media people that I said was my 29th. And God, I can tell you, that was really something. Really, really something. I was very, it made my day. I'll just say that. It made my day. But anyway.
I mean, look, there is a dark web. And the things that happen on the dark web are credit card numbers and social security numbers get sold, and racists hang out.
Child pornography.
Right. Okay. So the intellectual
Good
dark web,
branding.
it's that they think they're being ironic. But the fact is what they are is we're the ones who basically genetically mutate the dark web and bring it out into the open so that people can see it and follow it back down.
And I also hope, I mean, fingers crossed, I know it's not going to happen anytime soon. I know that he is a very, very busy man, and if there's any way I can get in touch with him in the future, I'm saying it. I would love to have him on, and we could talk about everything and anything. So, but fingers crossed, but that I can get him on the show in the future. It's one person's watching. That's okay.
Down to its rabbit hole. And this is a perfect example of it. Dave Rubin either does know about who he has on as guests, just looks at maybe whether they're popular within, alt-right and right-wing circles, or he ignores what he finds so that he doesn't have to deal with stuff that's unpalatable because he wants to sell this to a broader audience. Here is a perfect example of it, as narrated by Timba.
Good point.
Well, it's parodying itself.
Wow. Well, listen, it's powerful stuff, and I love doing this because I think a lot of this, it flips conventional thinking on its head.
And whilst we're speaking about Sotomayor, there's another topic which might have been of interest to Dave's viewers, which Dave never brought up, and that is Tommy's controversial stance on Jewish people.
Pause it. No, okay, so
Recently,
he's talking about an interview that he did of this guy, Tommy Sotomayor.
Hey everyone, so I have been seeing progressive officials around the world do this challenge where we try to squeeze in all of the...
Who is, I don't know, is he a YouTube guy or what? I don't know exactly.
Yeah, apparently.
And so this is going into Rubin's, attacks on people for being anti-Semitic. Good for him. There's a lot of tweets that he's put out there. I'm sure it's been, if you updated it with like the Ilhan Omar things, she was very offended. But here we go.
And that is Tommy's controversial stance on Jewish people. Recently, Dave has been fiercely cracking down on anti-Semitism on Twitter, dealing out some harsh criticism for those who he perceives to be displaying anti-Semitic attitudes. Well, you might say, if Dave thinks those people are bad, I can only imagine the hard-hitting questions he'll have for someone who has appeared in podcasts with former Grand Wizard of the KKK, David Duke, and denied the Holocaust.
We don't have to go back that far, Dr. Duke. We can go right now to Black Lives Matter. Who started it?
Jews.
You as a white man should want to push whites in America to concentrate more on education, because Jews push that to their people, and then they push alcohol to your people in mind. They push drugs to your people in mind.
Pause it.
They did. They were the Jews did the same thing. They literally could have walked out of that situation and said, we don't want to do it. But that ain't what they said.
For some reason, although Dave never misses the
Pause
opportunity
it.
I have an idea, Shlomo. How about we just walk out of here? There's an exit sign in the other direction. Maybe we could just leave. But then we won't be able to apply white and black people alcohol later. Oh, the dilemmas.
We're all going to gather around. One of us is going to survive, and it's going to be your job to sell the darkies and the whiteys, the booze and the pills.
He'll sell the booze. And your cousin, he's bookish. Eli, you write a whitey book about all this. The plan's in place.
Okay. So this is TJ Sotomayor, like a series of different videos.
It's very provocative ideas.
Big ideas.
I got to tell you, I mean, as someone who, not anymore, but was willing before the mass incitement against her to say that years before she was a congresswoman, she could have phrased a tweet more differently. I think this is quite a stark contrast to Ilhan Omar's ever-ready commitment to say, I'm willing to learn and I condemn anti-Semitism.
Right.
For some reason, although Dave never misses the opportunity to go to bare knuckles on Twitter for anti-Semitism on the left, when he's in the presence of someone on the right who explicitly pushes anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial on a regular basis, he avoids the topic completely. During the hour-long interview, Dave never asks Sotomayor a single question about this.
Wow.
And there's one more thing which I want to show you before we move on.
Now, just contemplate this. I don't know. Maybe those two different interviews he did with David Duke, and that one time on his video, he, said the Holocaust was basically an opt-in situation for Jews. Maybe, Dave didn't know about them maybe there's just no way to find that. I don't even know who TJ Sotomayor is, but of course I'm not inviting him on the show.
Right.
And we don't do extensive online research of our guests. Now, we have 4 to 5 times more guests a week, I think, than Dave does.
That is true.
One would think that would come up in some of your research. What do you think about the Jews? But apparently, even though Dave is such a huge fighter against anti-Semitism, not that much of an issue, doesn't want to scare anybody. I don't want to get into that big idea.
Well, as Tim Von Toys points out later in the video, Dave's self-consciously having conversations with quote-unquote controversial people, but never does any sort of look into what is controversial about these people.
Right.
It's
the dark web. You can't say this stuff anywhere else. Well, why don't you ask him why? Why can't you say that stuff? Who's preventing you from going out there and saying on YouTube, Holocaust denialism? But it gets even better. I wonder if Dave brought up any other things that maybe this guy has an issue with.
And there's one more thing which I want to show you before we move on. Foreshadowing this interview with Tommy Sotomayor, Dave delivers a monologue about how open-minded conservatives are compared to the left, and highlights their acceptance of LGBTQ rights.
Do you know people on the right who are tolerant of people who are for gay marriage and who are pro-choice? I actually do, plenty of them, including several people who I've had on this show. When there's a disagreement, I see way more people on the right, conservatives or libertarians, more often willing to agree to disagree rather than to defriend or to smear. Let's not forget, even Donald Trump got a standing ovation at the Republican National Convention when he talked about protecting LGBTQ rights.
This is ironic.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna pause it right here. I'm gonna say my piece, which is, that is such an ironic statement. The most weirdest ironic statement coming from someone like Rubin. I mean, this guy, like, I'll save that for last. I'm going to save that for last. I'm going to let the clip play, and then I'll tell my piece.
As it turns,
that was a great standing ovation that he got. Transgender people now barred from the military. Just today, we had more attacks on transgender folks' rights. But as long as you got a,
to this very day.
for it. But go ahead.
He talked about protecting LGBTQ rights.
this is ironic because, as it turns out, Dave's conservative guest of that episode, Tommy Sotomayor, didn't actually know that Dave was gay. On a live stream months after the interview, one of Sotomayor's fans broke the news to him, and here's how he reacted.
Stephen said, they hate Dave Rubin because he's a gay man with the wrong opinion. Dave Rubin is gay? No! He got a husband! I did not know. I was in his presence. I didn't know. I shook his hand. I sat down with him. Why did y'all tell me before I went on his show? Oh, Stephen, why would you send me this?
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Steve, you ruined my day.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That always gets to me. Oh, that was the point I was trying to make. He didn't know Dave was gay. Oh, he's like, that still gets me. That was the whole point of the clip I was trying to show. Was Sotomayor's reaction. Oh God, I've been playing that clip for a while and I just wanted to show it. I knew that I didn't know that was going to happen. I knew that was going to come out of me. That I was going to have that sort of reaction. Oh. Okay, it's out. That still gets to me. Oh, Sotomayor's reaction when he found Dave was gay. No, he got a husband. I shook his hand. Oh God. I'm still laughing over it. Oh. That was too funny. And that's not the first time that Dave that's not the first. Can't get it out. Oh, okay. Okay. And that's not the first time that, and that wasn't the only time. I can't do it. Okay, that wasn't the only time that Dave Rubin that Dave told people on the right that, you know, that even though he's not left anymore, like, I'm a classical liberal, like I'm married to a dude, I believe in gay marriage, and like he went on Corolla. There's a clip on Jackman's Weekend Show where they played a clip from he was on Corolla, and I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that to happen. I didn't know that was going to happen. I see that clip all the time. I just laugh because it's so funny. Tommy Sotomayor did not know that they was okay. He takes the hand and he goes, I shook his hand. Let's sit down with him. Okay. Oh. Oh, okay. It's out. It's out.
Maybe this guy Sotomayor's anti-gay feelings never came up. That was the first time maybe that people were aware that he was anti-gay.
I was more interested in talking about ideas.
I mean, your reaction really fascinates me. Can we talk about that?
We
You
talk
said you
about
want to
that?
wash your hand. Like, what is it?
What does that mean?
What are you implying about?
You know,
like,
it's
my-
really, I don't know if we're going to play the fuller clip, though, where basically the guy was on to, like, trash the black
That was some
family,
pretty
like,
good,
literally, like, 1960s style, like, conservative tripe nonsense. So that is what Dave's interested in. He's not interested in the Holocaust stuff. He's not interested in the homophobia stuff. But the core brand proposition of trashing black people.
I would also add, just
seems to be
going,
what they're
circling
interested in.
back to Donald Trump's gotten applause for protecting LGBTQ rights. In addition to the gender ban in the military, Trump administration is planning to roll back protections for transgender patients.
I guess I should mention it. You remember back when Trump was president, Caitlyn Jenner, who is now running for governor of California to replace Gavin Newsom in the recall election. She didn't come out in defense of or in opposition to Trump's ban on trans people until after she got her tax cut. It's a fact. Look it up. Anyway, that's just another example. So they're like all these so-called quote-unquote LGBT people on the right that say things like, "Oh, I'm not for, I support this thing, but don't support that thing." No, I mean, during the whole 4 years of Trump, they supported every agenda. They if they weren't publicly saying it, they were doing it behind closed doors, and that's not in the bad context either. Okay.
While empowering healthcare workers to refuse care based on religious objections. This is according to 3 officials with knowledge of the pending regulations. And then this isn't necessarily included, I guess. He didn't get applause for this, but the Trump administration was asked to pass a UN resolution to end sexual violence in war. Apparently, the United States said, no, we're not going to do that. They passed a watered-down version, diluted by the Trump administration, because you don't want to get overly uptight about sexual violence during war.
Where does that end?
It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. You start doing it in war, and then all of a sudden you're going to be doing in domestic in peace.
Civilian life.
Okay. One more time.
And even though Dave is such an op,
And to
Actually know that Dave is gay. Didn't actually know that Dave was gay. On a live stream months after the interview, one of Sotomayor's fans broke the news to him, and here's how he reacted.
Stephen said, they hate Dave Rubin because he's a gay man with the wrong opinion. Dave Rubin is gay? No! He got a husband? I did not know. I was in his presence. I didn't know. I shook his hand. I sat down with him. Why would you tell me? Show?
That never gets old.
Stephen, why would you send me this? Oh my God, Stephen, you've ruined my day.
Oh, this never gets old. Dude, I wish I had that thing that other streamers do where they like when somebody like subscribes to their channel or whatever, they have like little soundbite things. I should use that. No, he got a husband. That'd be like a reactionary soundbite thing I could do in the future, maybe. Maybe that just needed to happen. I needed to get it out, but
So, the other point I wanted to make with the whole showing of Sam talking about Dave Rubin was, I've been a, let's say, follower of progressive media for some time now. Maybe like, I wonder if it lets me play the, hold on. Okay. I'm actually gonna hit the play and then just play. So, like, I've been a follower of progressive media for some time now. It's probably about maybe not that long. When I say some time, I mean like maybe 5. Well, actually, 14 years. So yeah, I've been following progressive media for a pretty long time. And I know what I'm about to say here is gonna turn some heads on the left, on the progressive left, because we all have differences of opinion of this network and what kind of money they acquired in any way, shape, or form. So, regardless of what you think of them, I've been crediting TYT for helping me shape my political views. And I remember seeing the Dave Rubin years. I remember, like, albeit like briefly, like, because he was only there for like he was only there for 2 years, and like, he put himself out there as part of the progressive movement, and then left when he wasn't getting paid a lot of money by being a progressive, and now makes his living talking bad about good people, good faith people like Anna Kasparian, Bernie Sanders, AOC, people who have the right idea, that are good people, that even if you don't agree with everything they say and do, that their heart is in the right place. And Dave had put himself in that mindset for at least the 2 years that he was at TYT. And from what I've learned was that, he only cared about the money. He only cared about getting paid. So, I've been kind of watching, well, not kind of, I have been watching, like, and rewatching sometimes just to understand it more. Old clips of, TYT, Michael Brooks Show, Majority Report, and you name it, and on and on and on. And it made me kind of realize that he only called himself a progressive because he thought he could get paid for it. Like, he only went where the money was, which is eventually what happened. He's now getting paid by Koch brothers, think tank money, on-ram institute money, you name it. And for a guy who claims that he doesn't like woke culture, cancel culture, and identity politics and political correctness, and the list goes on, bro, he sure likes to bend over backwards for it. He sure likes to cake to it. What's the point? And actually, I gotta pull the tweet. I gotta pull the clip up. That was too funny, though, wasn't it? That's one of my favorite clips. Dave Rubin is gay? No, he got a husband. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, and I apologize for my outburst of laughter. It just gets to me, and I've been probably wanting that to happen for a while. So, okay. Oh, shoot.
Welcome back. Thanks again to the great
great Michael Moore. It's time for the salt, Anna. What do we got?
Salt on the wings.
Well, let me just preface this by saying that Michael and I really bonded over our mutual amusement regarding Dave Rubin. So Dave Rubin, someone I actually used to work with, someone who I actually used to be close with, apparently had some sort of political awakening, at least that's the way he describes it, where all of a sudden he doesn't believe in anything he used to believe and likes to, rub shoulders with all sorts of right-wingers. So he's coming out with a new book and he's promoting it on various shows, including on Adam Carolla's program. And in a recent interview, Dave Rubin decided to specifically go after Bernie Sanders, progressive members of Congress, and question their intelligence and literacy when it comes to the economy. Let's take a quick look.
On the left, there is no unifying principle anymore. What there is, oh, I really believe in government. And then the next guy just has to outdo you with government. So it's like Bernie comes in and says, I believe in $15 minimum wage. And it's like Bernie's never run a business. He has no idea about economics or anything, but he picks an arbitrary number because he feels it's morally right. And then what happens literally a week later? Well, Rashida Tlaib from the Squad, one of these new congresswomen, she says $20 minimum wage. And it's like, well, I guess, Bernie just made up a number. So now she made up a number and her number's higher. So she must be more moral. And that sort of race to outdo each other, to pretend that you know what you're doing in the name of doing good, well, it leads to all sorts of horrific policies and all sorts of stuff. I mean, when they say they're for free college, well, first off, we know nothing is free. But even putting that aside, if you wanted to indoctrinate people into being progressive, socialist, collectivist, leftist, where would you send them? You'd send them all to college.
I mean,
oh my God, that's awesome.
It's like the lack of self-awareness is my favorite thing about Dave Rubin. And I want you all to think of this particular line from the last video you just watched. He accused Bernie Sanders of pretending to know what you're doing. Pretending to know what you're doing. Now, we all know Rubin is a grifter. When he pivoted toward right-wing politics, he had some pretty significant financial backers. Koch brothers were involved. Dennis Prager was involved. And they were buttering his bread, and he decided, this is where the money is. I'm going to go ahead and start spouting right-wing talking points. But you do have to do some legwork in being a grifter. You need to study the talking points. You need to know, or at least expect, what the counter argument is. And you need to be at least somewhat savvy. And there are grifters on the right who do a decent job at this. They're a little more sophisticated. Dave Rubin's not one of those people. And so while he just accused Bernie Sanders and Rashida Tlaib of pretending to know what they're doing, keep that in mind as you watch this clip.
What? The government doesn't do anything good. Right. Name one problem you could possibly have in your life, Joe Rogan, that you'd be like, get the government to solve this. Do they do the post office well? No. What do they do well?
They do the post office pretty good, actually.
But guess what? If the post office closed tomorrow, it would be all right. You'd still get mail. Amazon would pick. No, it wouldn't. Amazon would pick that up.
Through UPS, it would cost a lot more.
It wouldn't, though. Competition would start kicking in, and between UPS and FedEx and Amazon and drones and blah 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 and DHL, they'd all start. It would probably drop prices because right now we've just got this artificial thing that sits there that then allows them to price according to that. But if you drop that, why is the government in that business anymore?
No, I love all of it. I love all of it. Competition will start kicking in. That was one of my favorite Rogan interviews ever.
I also just love, Rogan did a great job there with just his patience, but just the fact that Amazon runs off of the you cannot have Amazon without the post office. It's great. Beautiful.
No, it's just so good. It's just the lack of self-awareness.
Shit. Obviously, it's just a question of what you do is you just set, you just say, I want government to do more things, and that's moral. I remember AOC's infamous, I want government to do more things speech.
Yep, I do remember that. That was the reason why I supported him so aggressively.
I want them to do things. And we were like, thank you. This is what we're
Bravo. So it's just incredible because like the thing that I remember about him like the most clearly was just how allergic he was to hard work. And so I get that. Like it's definitely an easier play to just pivot in the direction where the money is, because there ain't a lot of money in progressive politics or media. And that's fine. If you're principled and you actually care about these issues and you want to have like actual relevant discussions that improve people's lives, you're going to go in that direction, right? For him, it just didn't pay. That's all he cared about. And then he moves over to the grifting and will not even do the minimum necessary in order to make, like, at least on the surface, a persuasive argument. And one more clip for you all, because his whole brand has been, I am against identity politics. I don't like identity politics. And that's all that these lefties focus on. They focus on race. They focus on sexual orientation. I, on the other hand, want to focus on ideas.
Yeah,
okay?
totally.
And I'll say this. If by some nature I become somewhat of a grifter, if people say that I grift, I hope in good faith that I am a better grifter than Ray Dubin at best. So I'm just going to throw that out there. All right. Play the rest of the clip.
And here he is talking about identity politics.
So let me just lay out a little lefty cred for you that even though the left isn't thrilled with me anymore, I still do have things that are, I thought were thought of as liberal. I mean, first off, I'm married to a dude, so I'm not even just pro-gay marriage. I actually decided to live with a man for the rest of my life. That's pretty gay. Would you grant me that?
I give it a 8 on the gayometer.
All right.
I got a laminate I keep in my wallet that has a tipping chart on one side and how gay is it on the other.
I like
so
that.
I'll check that. You guys have a squeegee in your shower?
I don't want to get into every little detail of everything we have here, but you know, we're having a good time.
It would help
but the point
if you squeegee off your lucite shower door after showering every day. I'll give you a couple of points.
Oh, I thought you were making a very disturbing sex joke.
I thought you were making a very distinctive sex joke.
I also
People with ADHD save 10 hours studying with this Chrome extension. But no, by all means, go ahead, skip.
one thing I will give Dave.
Oh, I thought you were making.
It would help
but the point
if you squeegee off your lucite shower door after showering.
Oh shoot!
Every day, I'll give you a couple of.
Oh, I thought you were making a very disturbing sex joke.
No.
I also one thing I will give Dave though is very fluid with the comedy. Very good with the banter. Extremely relaxed and very able to you watch that and a part of you just on a performance level is like Carolla's trying to work with you. Carolla's doing his thing. That's exactly what Carolla's gonna say. You could see a loofah joke coming. Like, you know, the train is leaving Hartford. You already see Penn Station from there. And Dave's just like, whoa, I don't know. I don't want to. I mean, I'm left wing. I have sex with a man, but an actual sex joke.
But like the incredible thing was like, Carolla wasn't even trying to make a sex joke. He was trying to make a joke about gay people, you know, having clean showers or tidy houses. And like immediately Dave Rubin gets uncomfortable. But like, look, I show you all that because
we're cleaning showers doesn't mean we're like in dog collars over here. I get it, Adam. Thank you.
It's just so good. And he accused AOC in that same interview of being a useful idiot. Again, just a little tiny bit of self-awareness in addition to a little bit more research into the arguments you're about to make on these shows, right? You want to grip, that's fine. Do the legwork. Bare minimum. Unbelievable. And I live for your.
I feel like I should do some work on. I should do some research on grifting. I'm just throwing it out there. I feel like it. Like I really feel like I should just delve into research and work on learning about grifters and how their minds work. Because you never know, man. You never know.
For your Dave Rubin impressions. It's just like no one's perfected it quite the way you have.
Well, I think it's like the insight into that impression is the combination of just someone could be so dense, also super cavalier, because there doesn't seem to even be like the mechanism of like, oh shit, that was really embarrassing, I don't want that to happen again. And then actually though, also like super tightly wound, like warning contents under pressure. So it's like a weird continuum of just like, I don't get it, I don't, what? And then like, yeah, I'm not embarrassed by that at all. I'm gonna make the same male analogy again that I completely humiliated myself on a national platform with, combined with like, oh no, I don't want to really do a whole, I'm not trying to work blue here, Adam. Just, let me do my gay thing that I do every single time.
It's amazing.
Also,
every
like,
interview.
Is there anyone who has encountered this guy's work? It's like, yes, we get it.
Yeah. Also, just like associating, like, no, guys, don't. I'm actually not on the right. I'm critical of the left, but I'm actually a lefty myself because I have sex with a man. Like, I don't think that qualifies as ideology at all.
No.
But it is what it is.
It's like
amazing.
Dave's perception of all classic left-wing movements, which is sort of like, and then Nelson Mandela, he must have had sex with a lot of men because he was like a big lefty.
You know what, though? I think it's unfair. Like, we should give him a little bit of credit because he at least has enough self-awareness to run away from debates.
Yes.
Like, that takes some self-awareness.
Hell yeah,
he refuses to even approach Sam Cedar, for instance, who's been urging him for a debate forever. And so, like, he knows. That's really my theory. I think he's fully aware of how dumb he is. He's just unwilling to do the research necessary to not look dumb in interviews, even with like Adam Carolla.
Even with Adam Carolla. If Sam debated Dave, it would be like those like nature shows where they show you how cruel animals in the wild could be, and they show you like a whale just like torturing a smaller fish before it kills it. If you could draw some type of like Jewish caricature over that whale's face, that would be Sam debating.
Or
Sam is the whale
in a different context where Dave Rubin ends up looking like a wounded antelope. That's another visual we can consider.
It's also very possible. Do we have one more piece of sound, though? Because I think Dave actually did want to go back to the post office.
Do we?
Wait, no, we don't? I thought we actually
No, that's it. That's it.
Oh,
that's all we have. But he then went on because I think he realized how embarrassing that Rogan conversation was. He went on to talk about how he has chickens and how he had them delivered through the postal service, which is literally the only way you can have chickens delivered to you. So it was just like, okay, so are you against the post office or in favor of? By the way, just a little bit of substance in this like ridiculous Dave Rubin story. We need to protect the post office. It's under attack. The Trump administration does not want to provide any type of financial relief to the post office. And without it, mail would not get delivered to so many parts of this country because it's just not profitable for UPS or FedEx to do it. So protect the post office, buy a book of stamps if you can, support them in any way you can. It's just such an important service for us to have.
And, you're not some doctrinaire lefty. Like, you're straight.
That's true. I live with a man.
Yeah,
I'm
I
intimate
want to
with
say
a
that.
man,
Like,
so
look,
I'm a
I
right
support
winger,
Medicare
yeah.
for all, but I'm straight. So I'm not some like crazy socialist, you know?
Exactly.
I think about it.
Oh, that was just that was entertaining. That was very entertaining. I guess I can. Now I have a tendency to talk a little bit more about Michael. Now that I've seen that. Now that I've seen it, I mean, I've seen it so many times already. I've viewed it, I've seen it, I've watched it a dozen times, and it's still good. I mean, it is really good. It's very good. Also, kind of like, it's been a year since he left us, unfortunately. You know what? For the heck of it, let's just play this clip. Oh, I might click on that.
Welcome to the Nomiki Show. I am Nomiki Konst. I don't know what day of quarantine we are on at this point. Last week has been very difficult for the progressive community. We lost our brother, our comrade, our ally, Michael Brooks. It was a very sudden and unexpected passing. He had a medical issue that he was unaware of, and his family was unaware of, and he was taken from us suddenly.
The mood has gotten
And so for the last week, many of us have
talking
been
about
grappling.
I'm talking about Dave Rubin and laughing about Tommy Sotomayor to remembering our comrade. I don't know. I mean, I've, you know, in this stream tonight, I've told you what I think. I've pretty much divulged my own politics and where I stand on issues like war and people over politics and whatnot. I'm a DemSoc in training at best. Meaning, when I say DemSoc, when I say Democratic Socialist, I mean Democratic Socialist in training, meaning that I'm still learning. I'm not there yet. And one of the good things about watching different, almost watching different left-wing shows and networks and whatnot, you come across good content and good people that have good faith, that are in good faith about what they stand on, what they believe in. Michael Brooks was one of those people. And although I didn't know him at all, I miss him terribly, just like everyone else. And you saw me laugh at that Sotomayor clip because it's just so much fun to watch and see Dave Rubin being dunked on people like Michael, like Sam, like Anna. I'm going to get back to that clip at the end of the show. I'm definitely going to play that part again to keep the mood upbeat. Because I'm rambling on here. It's the time. It's 9:30. So I think I'm done showing clips for the moment. think I'm just gonna spend the rest half hour just talking about what my day was like. I did it earlier, but I kind of want to do it now. So my day was good. It's funny. I had a pretty easygoing day, and it rained like hell today in Kansas City. I literally took a umbrella with me, thinking that I was going to have to suffer through a downpour of rain showers. And, I'm excited about tomorrow because I'm going to the public library and I am going to get Leon Trotsky's autobiography, My Life. I found out about Trotsky through Bhaskar Sankara, so just to say thank you, Bhaskar, for introducing me to Trotsky. How I found out that Bhaskar was Trotsky was that he read in his political journey. He read Orwell, Trotsky, what else? Miliband, and let's see. He read 1984, George Orwell. He credited his I'm stuttering. Politicization. If I said that right, probably barely even said it right. To George Orwell's 1984, Leon Trotsky and his autobiography, Isaac Dushers, 3-volume biography, and then the rest of the reading Lucio Magatti, Ralph Miliband, and Gary Anderson, and reading the New York Review. He joined ESA at 17 years old, an editor for The Activist, which is a section 1 that ESA has. I think they still do. He conceived the idea of Jacobin magazine while studying history at George Washington University, and he missed 2 semesters due to illness, and spent that time reading Marxist works. So. Boy. So pretty much everything that Bhaskar learned in his life was put into this book. This book here. I hope you don't mind me showing it. But, now that I've got it out, I might want to continue reading it. It's the Socialist Manifesto. You know, I kind of wonder, is this like, is this kind of like a companion? Is that like a companion title to Communist Manifesto, by any chance? It's just a thing I can study. But I'm only at page 20 in the book, so I still would read it, and I should really get into it. Maybe I should take this book to school with me tomorrow and Chomsky's manufacturing itself. And I also got some pretty interesting school library books from my school library.
So I was actually cruising my school's library the first day, and I can't pause the video, because if I pause the video, the music stops. I found this book, The Porno Was Real. And I know, like, from watching TMBS and Jacqueline Weekends and Jacqueline Show, that Michael was a big fan and supporter of Porno West. I don't know, I found it on my first day, which was a week ago, and I saw it and I looked at it and I was like, holy S, this book is, I have to get this, but I don't know why I didn't check it out. I'm just getting to the introduction. Maybe if I get through some homework tonight, this weekend, I'll probably read it again. But it's called, I'll hold up, put it on my base, but I can get it in the Porno West Reader. It was published in 1999. I got it and I checked it out at my school library. So I might read it. I might have to do some little background reading this weekend if I can. And I just stumbled on a page. I don't know what chapter this is, but it's chapter 14. Friedrich Jameson's American Marxism. And the chapter before that is an interview with Ava Corredo, talking about Marxist theory. And again, this is the great Porno West. It's another profound influence. I don't know if I got introduced to him through Michael, but I probably might have known through this for years, but just hadn't really paid attention to him. Not that Michael was a fan of his supporter. He was a supporter until his last day on this earth. So yeah, I think I have very good taste in books. I must say, I have very good taste in books. I'm not trying to toot my own ego here, but I have, and also, like, this is kind of controversial because I know that Michael had sort of a mixed view of him, I found a few days ago. It's Christopher Hitchens. And I know Hitchens was a neocon. I understand that. I know that towards the tail end of his life, he was a neocon. Like the last 10 years that he lived, he identified as a neocon and supported the war in Iraq. He was a Marxist, leftist in his younger years, and then turned to the right as older. And I would also point out Joe Payne's interview with Ben Burgess. Ben, this is no big revelation. Ben himself was already talking about it. He's working on a book, I guess you could say a biography about Christopher Hitchens. This, by the way, is just a collection of readings by, atheists, people who don't believe in God, people that are democratic socialists. Kind of tells you about my own lack of belief in religion. I was raised Catholic growing up, and I left the church at 17. Because as I was growing up, that was also the other part of being conservatives. Growing up in a conservative town, everybody was belonged to a certain church denomination. My family chose the Catholic faith, and I was raised Catholic up until I was 17. Even when I was much younger, I still had a disillusionment with the church. And up until I was 17, like 2009, I no longer identified as Catholic. And, I didn't really call myself an atheist, but like I still had some spiritual like curiosities in it. So I got involved involuntarily with the Pentecostal church. At this point, my family moved way out into Midwest Missouri and way further out into conservatism town, and got involved voluntarily with the Pentecostal church, and that was just the most horrible thing in my life. And I did not share, obviously, the conservative beliefs. So many churchgoers there and just came to the conclusion that organized religion was bullshit, just putting it bluntly, and became an atheist. I would call myself a Buddhist atheist. I have no structural belief in God. I don't believe in like an organized religion, but I sympathize with. I have a spiritual curiosity, and if I'm going to channel that in some way, I'm going to channel it into Buddhism. However, I can't be saying just because that I don't respect people that have a faith, because of course there are people on our side of the progressive left community, like Matt and Liz Burnick, who I'm sorry for all the name dropping, by the way, but I'm just citing it as an example. Matt and Liz Burnick, they're Catholic, they supported Bernie Sanders. They're progressive. They're leftist. They're good people. My thing is that if you use your faith or your belief for good and not bad, my whole upbringing was in organized religion was basically just judging people and labeling people and saying this is good and this is not, and you should believe this and you should believe that, even if you are trying to think for yourself, you shouldn't. It's bad. So that was my view of organized religion until I was introduced to good faith people, good faith progressive people, like Elizabeth Burnick, and read her work. And, she comes from a different Catholic religion than I was. I was brought up very conservative. She was brought up very liberal. And that's another thing. I was raised in a very liberal household in a conservative town. My mom was a very liberal Democrat. My uncle's very Democratic, so it's Democratic since Mike Dukakis in 1988. And it kind of shaped me. How I went from being raised as a moderate lib to progressive, left, fighting for supporting Medicare for all, freedom of will. It was a long ass journey. It's a long journey that I can talk about now, but it is getting to that time. So I'm gonna try to end the stream at 10 o'clock because I was kind of late showing up. I know I was taking a nap. So I managed to get to 2 hours. Yesterday I kind of chickened out. To quit to 9. So I was anyway, I'm gonna play that clip again. So I'm actually gonna, for shits and giggles, I'm gonna play the Dave Rubin clip again, where Sotomayor doesn't know that it's gay. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna not play the whole clip, but I'm just gonna get to the part where he realizes that Dave is gay. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me share my screen one time. And
The interview, one of Sotomayor's fans broke the news to him, and here's how he reacted.
okay, hold on. I gotta start doing all the full screen in terms of all the I'm learning as I go along, people. Don't worry. If I last 6 months, which I know I will, I'll be much better.
Reacted.
And Stephen said, they hate Dave Rubin because he's a gay man with the wrong opinion. Dave Rubin is gay? No! He got a husband? I did not know. I was in his presence. I didn't know. I shook his hand. I sat down with him. Why would y'all tell me before I went on the show? Oh, Stephen, why would you send me this? Oh my God, Stephen, you ruined my day. Oh.
On a live stream months after the interview, one of Sotomayor's fans broke the news to him, and here's how he reacted.
And Stephen said, they hate Dave Rubin because he's a gay man with the wrong opinion. Dave Rubin is gay? No! He got a husband? I did not know. I was in his presence. I didn't know. I shook his hand. Why did y'all tell me before I went on the show? Oh, Stephen, why would you send me? I didn't know. Why would y'all? I sat down with him. Shook his hand. Shook his hand. I sat down with him. Why did y'all tell me before I went on the show? Oh, Stephen, why would you send me this? Oh my God, Stephen, you ruined my day.
Maybe this guy
is so funny. That is so hilarious. And it never gets old either.
guy Sotomayor's
oh my God, that never gets old. Oh my God, Stephen, you ruined my day. I shook his hand. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. I just wanted to end the stream on a funny note, because we talked a whole lot of stuff. So I thank everyone for sticking around, and I hope y'all will get a chance to watch this afterwards. I want to thank Joe for commenting, and Joe Payne from Political Payne. Again, I can't do the plugin. I can't help from plugging it. Please go watch Joe Payne. Go like and subscribe to his YouTube channel. For the heck of it, I'll just put it right here. Yeah, still got the same. No. Come on, it's coming on. Oh, that would be so good to watch tomorrow. It's too bad. Shoot, that. We'll watch that tomorrow. I'll make note of it. because I have a lot to say about this guy, and I'm so unapologetic about saying it. So anyway, I'm supposed to do some plugging here. So go check out Political Payne. This is Joe Payne. Please go check out his channel. Go like and subscribe to his stuff. I certainly do. I monitor his show briefly before I started my own Twitch stream and YouTube stream. He's an independent journalist. He's a commentator. He's a left political guy. You should just check his stuff out. He's really cool, and he's a really swell guy. And that's the guy who's in the Twitch comments. He was giving me good, positive words of encouragement, and I can't thank him enough. So for that, I will plug Joe's channel, and I hope he does not mind me doing it. Because even if you didn't know, I would still plug it anyway, because I can't resist. Because I'm the type of person, the political left progressive, DemSoc and drain person to support and stand with my fellow progressive people. Whether we agree on some things or not, I think it's always important to have one another's back and enjoy one another's content. If you get what I'm saying. Okay, so that is that. So thank you to Joe. Thanks to everyone who watched us, watched and commented. I'll probably check the comments later in the playback. But thanks to Sneaking250, thanks to Joe for giving me the moral encouragement and support. The comments. I hope I did a real good night too. Hope to do this again tomorrow night. It is. I think I'm ending a little 10 minutes early. It's 9:50. I want to end exactly at 10 o'clock tonight. So I'm going to try to prolong my stay here. So I would like to play that clip one more time. No, I'm just kidding. I played it so many times already. You saw me laugh. You saw me lose my shit in a positive way. In a positive way, I lost my shit, but I just can't help it, you know. I just cannot help it. So one of the things I'm going to try to learn is how to, and I hope I can learn this along the way, is how to activate live chat while streaming. Because I was learning how to do that today, so I could just see the comments. Because I'm using Restream, which I'm sure people are aware of. I think because fellow streamers are. So I can just see the chats, the comments as they pop up, and I can just select them if I feel they're good tweets or good comments. Because I want to do that thing where people live chat in and they say, this person says this, and I respond to it. Like Sneaky250 on Twitter says, Joe Payne on Twitter says, I'm trying to do that more on YouTube. I'm trying to get, trying to do the live chat so that people can actually, you know, if they watch the stream, they can come in with their 2 cents. And let's see, what's the time? 10 o'clock doesn't get very fast, but I'm just going to end the stream. So that's what I'm probably going to do. I've already gone 2 hours. So my name is John Ross. This is TJRS, the John Ross Show. Again, thanks to everyone who watched and enjoyed, put up with me for 2 hours. There's I'll just put this stuff up here. He recaps the show Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Twitch and YouTube. You can read me on Substack, as always, at TJRS.substack.com. You can follow
social medias. Please, if you can, donate to the Patreon. I am not going to ask for much. I usually don't ask for a whole lot as far as I would not want to ask for a whole lot as far as doing a show like this. You can give what you can, keep the show going, and I hope to get a producer in here to kind of help make the show better. If not, have a Patreon where there's a little financial compensation made where a producer is able to get paid financially, like not for me, but for the people who are behind the scenes person who can eat basically, and of course like and subscribe. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get off here. Again, thanks to everyone. Thanks to Joe. Thanks to Josie. Again, thanks for putting up with me for a few hours. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at the same time, same place. Left is best. Rest in power, Ed Asner. Rest in power, Michael Brooks. And I will see y'all tomorrow.